Hello.
Hi, we're back again. Different topic this time. This topic is power, poverty and conflict, and we'll be using City of God and Lehane specifically for this particular element. First off, just give it a context. The idea here is that we're using those three words as the contextual background. So we're looking in these films for the relationship of power between certain groups, maybe of people, or certain institutions or establishments and places. Yeah. We're looking at
what provides that power.
What provides that power,
yeah.
Absolutely, yeah, and how that power might change or shift or stay the same.
Yeah.
We're looking at poverty in relation to the setting, so the mise en scène will have a big part in identifying poverty, perhaps from the off, but then it gets slightly deeper. That will feed into things like financial capital, the financial kind of like money that people have in their pocket, but also things like the cultural capital as well, so how education may come into that, friends, social kind of cement, etc.
But also then how that might be viewed by different sections of society as well, in terms of how that might be constructed to be viewed.
Definitely.
By media and
like definitely, and then in a way how then sort of stereotypes can form, and isn't it, all of that. And then conflict, which always seems quite an easy one to sort of depict, because you can see clear visual identified kind of elements kind of in the films about the conflict taking place, but it doesn't have to be violent to be conflicting. It can be kind of like verbal, and the conflict of ideology maybe, or the conflict of time and place,
and characters, all that kind of thing.
Okay. So they're the three things to always sort of bear in mind, I think, whenever we're talking about the films, and for you, the students, to kind of think about as the clips are digested and the films are gone through.
As an overview.
Overview, absolutely.
So we're going to start with City of God.
City of God.
As it was the first film that you analysed anyway. Should we talk about, I think knowing or identifying the overall style of the film is quite important for students to kind of have that before they start talking about scenes, really. And a number of the questions, the exam questions, are about how the style might affect your consumption of it, or comparing it to like a Hollywood film. And also then comparing that with Lehane. In terms of the general style of it, I think we've discussed in our class that it's very much it has mainstream techniques in there that make it very engaging, very fast paced, lots of handheld camera, combined with quite realistic feeling settings.
Definitely.
And mise en scène elements, such as costume and other things like that. We
were the same, in as much that we felt like it's quite interesting, because in foreign films you normally associate them with being slightly lower budget than a Hollywood film, don't you? That's almost the stereotype, the perception of them. And you kind of get the feeling that City of God was an independent film, but almost like an independent film with a big budget. It felt like, didn't it, at times, because of some of the techniques and things that were used.
Because it was Fox Searchlight, wasn't it?
Was.
They are well known for picking up independent films that they think could go mainstream with their financial backing. And they've done things like Slumdog Millionaire and things like that went cleared up at the Oscars and things like that.
And as a foreign film, it was huge, wasn't it? This when it came out. But a bit similar to sort of other films in the past, it did massively well when it went to DVD, didn't it? And it became, it had a huge cult sort of status, didn't it? To the point now where it kind of sits in a ranking of all time films quite highly, isn't it? I think it's in that top 10. I think people often talk about where you sort of talk about audience reception and about how that sits. Lots of people kind of really voted for it. So it's one of those films you must watch. So it's had great success, hasn't it?
It has.
Which is brilliant.
And it might be down to those kind of mainstream techniques that are evident in there.
And
with a fast-paced narrative, as in there's a number of characters, isn't there, that we cut back and forth between. And with the narrative technique is kind of a bit all over the place at times, but it does have a chronological sense in the middle of it.
Definitely.
With an equilibrium in a sense at the end in terms of the character Rocket.
Yeah.
But maybe not in terms of the cycle of the slum, which continues on, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it might be that it's become one of those kind of cult films because it's been recognised as something that is possibly easy to watch, which is something we're definitely arguing in terms of compared to Le Hen, in terms of the way the style of that is more challenging.
Definitely.
To a wider audience.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know this is up for debate, isn't it? But I'd almost say that City of God almost follows the format in many respects on the coattails, in terms of narrative at least, of the kind of Tarantino era of Hollywood. Do you know what I mean? The way that it kind of cuts and changes and reverses narrative and does all that. I would never compare it to a Tarantino, but you know what I mean? I think it does kind of in many respects kind of feature like that in some way throughout the kind of the flow of the narrative. But you know, like you mentioned, I think it's really important that whole sense of cinema verite. You feel like you're part of that film, don't you? Feel like you're there. There are certain scenes that, you know, no doubt both groups kind of like really felt for, and we're going to specific scenes, won't we? But that one part when, you know, basically you've got steak and fries and he has to choose which kid he's going to shoot, it's just horrific. Yeah. And at the same time, it's brilliantly horrific, if that makes sense. Because you feel like you're there. And even saying it now, like the hair and you know, his neck is kind of going up because it's so I don't know, it's visceral, isn't it? You just feel like you're there. It affects you physically. Yeah,
because I know our class. Sorry, I've got to keep an eye on the time as well. Our class, when we watched the film and then we went to watch it again, and we said, right, we need to do this, and everybody was like, oh, do we? Yeah. Because it is like it's so affecting the audience, isn't it? It's such a huge effect. We could talk about that one now while we're...
We could. We're there, I suppose, yeah, we mentioned that now, so...
so just, I think we've argued a lot that it's the combination of the mise-en-scène, the camera angles, that are the main kind of features of this. We've often talked about the kid's amazing performance, where it's really convincing. But it's mainly because they're in clothes that don't fit, that are dirty, and that...
Shoes haven't got toes in them, and they've been worn, haven't they?
So that element of poverty is really clear there, and I think that it's heightened in terms of what they're doing before little Z arrives, that they're like burping and so childlike, and that's heightened because what's going to happen next, you know, it's creating that binary opposite for the higher effect on the audience, isn't it, when it becomes, you know, kids killing kids, basically. But there's lots of nice, like, low and high angle shots. And seeing that Steak doesn't want to do it, you know, in the close-ups that where he has to choose, are really effective as well in terms of that overall.
Definitely,
effect.
And it makes it even sadder, doesn't it? Because there's that at the start of that scene, he even calls to his mum and says, "Mum, I'm going out with my mates," and his mates are Little Z and the gang, and it's a real shame because he feels a sense of belonging, doesn't he, there? And he's only really just started to get in with that group, and he sees them as big brothers, really. And you just, you know, so when that ends up happening and panning out, you just think, oh, he's been betrayed, and he's now inculcated in a group he really shouldn't be with, and you just feel really sad, don't you?
It's grooming, in effect.
It is grooming, you're right.
In terms of getting them to become killers at such a young age, but
definitely.
It reflects the context.
Absolutely.
And so in terms of how hard-hitting the scene is, and we find out at the end that it is a real story, the whole thing, that you know, it covers that kind of context, doesn't it? And that they do, you know, the little kids will probably be the first to be sentenced, which the gangs want because they get lesser sentences, and again, you know, once they're in that system, you know, they're going to continue, really.
I think what's interesting with that, and I'm not comparing right now, but what I think is quite interesting with the so-called, you know, when we look at that as the foreign films, if you like, you know, that and La Haine, it's that kind of difference that within City of God, the gun culture, and we know from the documentaries and things, but the gun culture is just almost a given. So like the way that people in the slums, in the favela, are using guns, and the way they kind of talk about guns, it's just part of their everyday life, and it's part of the fabric. So like as a prop and a piece of iconography, you kind of look at that gun, and for us as a British audience, having the gun controls that we do in Britain, which is great, we're almost horrified by seeing it because it's just kind of like waved around all the time, and handing guns out to kids, and steak and fries, basically being handed a gun to choose to shoot one of these as well. I think that heightens the effect, doesn't it, in a way? It kind of really gets to us again, because it's like no one cares either. There's no recourse behind it really. There's no real punishment. Little Z laughs it off, and after the kid is shot, and then they kind of walk away.
Yeah, they do.
And it's just really like horrible.
Very frivolous with life, really. Isn't
Absolutely.
It?
Absolutely.
I was going to say something about the context again. In terms of, us as a British audience, like we did when we were in class, we did a what do you know about Brazil in the first place. And it was common knowledge, it was the common ideology, is that it is crime-ridden, and there's huge poverty issues, and that, the favelas are right in the centre, really right next to, expensive living areas.
Wealth,
the wealth. And so, again, going back to some of the questions are about, like, how much does knowing the context affect your understanding of the film or your enjoyment of the film? I guess it just reinforces that idea, doesn't it, that it's not anything new to us.
No.
So perhaps there is a certain element of, because it's so different here in terms of gun control, however, it's not that shocking to see the amount of crime.
No, absolutely. I think you're right. And those statistics that are kind of bound up in that whole thing about, in Brazil, about how many people are killed as well in jail, for example, compared to like America even. It's like it's a massive difference.
High percentage, isn't it?
Yeah, it's huge.
Which I don't have the top of my head right now.
Well, I've said it many times, but in our group we've got it wrong many times as well. So I don't want to say it now, because
and we've probably got different
we've
ones.
got different ones, exactly. Yeah. So put a figure in. You'll be right.
Should we pause and find out?
Maybe. Yeah. Okay, we'll leave it there.
Yeah. Thanks.